All right. We are back at the podcast studio in beautiful Belmont, New Jersey. We have a very special guest on, someone that I met through another guest of the podcast. We have Anthony Libecci on today. How are you, sir?
I'm well, sir. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Today's going to be the best podcast ever.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right.
So it's what it was in my calendar invite, so let's make it great today for the audience. Ryan Charterina, who runs a group of professionals in Red Bank, was on the podcast. He says to me, "Oh, you got to check out this group." And I usually don't go to those. I usually don't go to those networking events. But I don't know why. He came in and he was talking about how great it was. And then I decided to go to the next meeting where you were also your first time there.
That's correct.
We're both rookies together that day.
It was an interesting event, certainly.
We had good lunch.
Yeah.
The sandwiches were good.
It's good sandwiches, definitely.
But a good group of guys. And after that, I was like, all right, I'll do this.
Yeah.
That's how we kind of got started chatting.
Yeah, absolutely. It was certainly a great group of people to be able to get together with all the same mindset.
Yep.
Which is really important in business, I think, is who you surround yourself with and the type of people and the type of businesses and so on. But the beauty of that group is that we're able to really utilize each person within the group for their specialty.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that we're giving somebody, one of our clients, if we're making a recommendation, ultimately we're giving them the best of the best, right? So obviously your reputation goes on the line when you give a referral to another business owner and so on. So you have to make sure that you're aligned with the right people.
It's nice when you don't have to hold your breath.
Yeah.
Like when you give a referral, you're like,
man,
either don't call or I hope this goes okay.
Yeah.
No, but I like when you're able to refer people. And you know what's funny is we started doing business with Anthony Mirabella too from the group, and we were building him a new website and we're helping him with some online marketing. But also we were able to refer him to some people too.
Yeah.
And you know you're going to get a quality job. I mean,
absolutely.
The hair is just a bonus.
He's got wonderful head of hair.
So, you're a Homedale guy. You live in Monmouth County. Homedale.
Everybody says Homedale. It's
Homedale.
Del. D-E-L.
All right, Homedale, D-E-L, Monmouth County. But you are not originally a Monmouth County guy.
No, I'm from Staten Island originally, born and raised.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell that. So, born and raised in Staten Island.
Born and raised in Staten Island. Went to Monsignor Farrell High School, St. John's University.
They really blew it in the tournament this year.
Hey, listen, I was happy that they were there.
I know they crushed the Big East.
It's nice to start getting them back to where they were a long time ago, and so now it'll be very helpful for the school moving forward.
Yeah.
Especially they actually just closed the Staten Island campus, which is unfortunate. Major beautiful campus that they had over there. They closed it down, I think, for monetary purposes. They weren't getting the enrollment they used to, but. The win came at the wrong time, I think. It is what it is.
All right, so 2025 is going to be a good year for them?
I hope so.
All right, perfect. All right, so you go to St. John's, you finish up there, then what do you start doing?
So, so what I did was I moved out of my house on my own when I was 19, and I was still at St. John's, and I needed to be able to pay for my last year of college. So I actually joined the police department in the NYPD, and I utilized the police academy to get the last of my college credits that I would need in order to graduate and get my degree. From there, I didn't stay obviously with the police department, but I'm grateful for my experience there, for what it did for me in terms of being able to help me get through to get my degree and make money at the same time, which was great, so I could pay my rent. But that was
true hustler.
Yeah, but at the end of the day. After that, I went into the mortgage business, and I did pretty well there for a young guy coming out of college. It was a great experience. It was my first kind of entree into sales, right?
Where'd you go to college for?
I went for criminal justice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So now you're doing sales.
Listen, when it comes to any degree, I always tell friends of mine, their kids, and so on. It's like it doesn't matter what you major in or whatnot. 9 times out of 10, whatever you major in, you're not actually going to do in life.
Fair.
Just get a degree and go from there, unless you want to be a doctor or something really professional like that. Yeah. Exactly. But where were we going with that?
So now you're in the mortgage game.
I'm in the mortgage game.
You're doing fairly well for yourself.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well for a young guy in the business, learning a completely new concept and industry and so on. And like I said, I had some success doing it, but then along came 2008, and there was a lot of uncertainty when that came around, and the mortgage crisis, obviously. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Me and my buddy were sitting next to each other, and we're like, "Oh man, what are we gonna do?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "You want to get your insurance license?" I'm like, "All right, let's do it." So lo and behold, we go to a course to get our insurance licenses. I actually finished the course and I got my insurance license. My friend, whose idea it was, didn't ever finish and never got his license.
That's funny.
And then from there, I was introduced by a family member to somebody that they knew that was having a lot of success at Aflac.
Aflac.
And I'm sure everybody knows Aflac, obviously, right? Great marketing company.
They do a great job, Mark.
Yeah. They actually, it's funny, we joke around when I was working at Aflac, we say they're a marketing company that happens to sell insurance, right? Because everybody knows the duck, and that's what they're primarily known for. So lo and behold, I start with Aflac. I had a really great run there. I really believed in the product. I still do, obviously. It's a great company. Learned a lot from there. Had a lot of success. I opened up the first Staten Island Aflac office, and that office then became the top selling Aflac office in the country for 5 years in a row, which was pretty cool.
Under your leadership.
Yes.
Oh wow, that's great. How many guys did you have working there?
I had about 30 agents at one point. Yeah. But it's, listen, it's a tough business in selling insurance, and, especially to businesses and so on, trying to give them advice on such and such. But for coming into the insurance business, it's a great business, right? Because you get the cool things that you get to do with helping business owners kind of arrange their programs and making it better for them and easier for them to be able to recruit and manage and maintain employees and such. It's a really great opportunity. But, so cut to, we went, having all that success, I just said, there's a little bit more to this, I think, right? I think there's more than just Aflac out there. Aflac being a great carrier as it is, there's 30 other carriers that did what they did. So I said, hey, wait a minute, I can't just, be this one trick pony, right? Because there's other companies I'm not doing business with that might not want to do business with Aflac. And that's okay. So I said, what I need to do is I need to put myself in a position where I could win more.
Okay.
Right? And 2020 came along. And that was a great opportunity for me to really be able to sit down, because we had a lot of time on our hands, obviously, and sit down and really figure out what goes on in the industry within the voluntary benefits space, right? Specifically, because that's what the focus was with Aflac. Is all they did was sell voluntary benefits, short-term disability, accident, critical illness, hospital, life insurance, and so on. And that's specifically to groups in terms of employer groups, right? So I dove into the other carriers, saw that there was a lot of opportunity there, and ultimately we became Benemont Worksite Advisors, which traditionally started out as a worksite benefits brokerage. So we work with brokers, right, that specialize in health insurance and offering benefits to their clients and their employees. And we also work directly with employers as well to implement these programs into their companies.
Okay.
As time goes on, things start to come about, and we made another division of our company called Benemont PEO Finder, which we're now working with a lot of our existing clients and new clients to help them search for a PEO.
We're going to take a little education break here.
Okay.
What is a PEO? I understand what it is, and I have a PEO, and I'm also looking at the Benemont Finder right now to see if they can find me something else. But give the general population an education on what a PEO is, what it does, what are some of its benefits.
Sure. So very simply, a PEO stands for a professional employer organization, and ultimately, what that does is it's a co-employment arrangement, and ultimately, what the PEO does is handles payroll for you. It can give you access to health insurance that is light years better than what you can get on the traditional open market for health insurance. Why? Because they have thousands and thousands of members within this PEO, and they're accessing a large scale of economy, which ultimately enables them to access a lot of savings.
So when you think about a business like mine, we have 20 employees, and a lot of small businesses have between 1 and 100 employees. Now, Anthony's going out and putting our group of 20 into a bigger pool of maybe 5,000. So now we're competing.
More like 50,000 or 500,000.
So now we're getting the rates as if we were a Fortune 500 company.
Exactly.
Compared to being a 20-person organization where we're not going to see the best benefits.
It's thank you. Would you like to? You need a job?
The nice thing is I run a marketing company, so how we say things is
that's good. That's why we work together.
Let's make sure that's on your website. Let's call Nicole and tell her. But I think that's really important to understand is the benefits. And again, I was early in the game on PEOs. Chelsea and I met a woman about 10 years ago through the Brick Chamber of Commerce. Couldn't have been 10 years. Maybe 8 years ago through the Brick Chamber of Commerce, and I was just starting to put on employees, and it was overwhelming. And also, one big thing that came out of PEOs for me was having an HR person. In the world we live in today, HR is a big component, but you don't really have a need for a full-time HR person. But again, PEOs, and Anthony could tell us more, offer HR compliance. So they helped us with our handbook, and they helped us with our vacation policy. And if there's an issue in the office, an employee can go to our PEO HR person and talk to them and get information and insights, so that it makes us appear. It makes us to be a bigger organization, because we have some of these things that maybe if we were just a 20-person operation running on our own, that we wouldn't see the benefits in.
That's exactly right. So, considering the insurance savings, right, and the access to better programs, you got the health insurance, workers' compensation is a big part of that as well, that you could access, find a lot of savings with, but then also they help manage with the workers' comp audits and so on. But to stick to HR, I just think that's a huge component of what they have to offer is, considering all the things you talked about with benefits and so on. What about hiring and firing for a small business? How many people have heard horror stories about trying to fire an employee or get rid of an employee that, wasn't doing what they're supposed to do, but then it becomes a legal nightmare, right? And it costs thousands upon thousands of dollars to handle. And this is something that the PEO goes to bat for you. The PEO handles all of this legally as well. So you're taking a lot of risk off yourself as a small business owner by joining a PEO, many, many different facets.
And they know, and the PEOs know all the laws in the governing state, which I think is important, because again, I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah. Think about if you had an employee that you hired in New York or South Carolina.
We had one years ago.
Employee.
During COVID, we had a South Carolina, but they did all the work for us.
There are specific laws that go to each state that you have to know. And being a small business owner, what do we need to focus on? We need to focus on our small business and where we bring in money, right?
And how to run it, how to help your customers, how to service the needs of your business. But again, HR and in hiring, firing, that's just it's part of
workers'
what has to happen.
Compliance, all that fun stuff. It's it's not part of the stuff we signed up for when we opened our business.
God, can you imagine?
Exactly.
When you open your business, did you think you'd have to go to court over someone trying to get unemployment benefits?
Exactly. I mean, think of guys in construction, right?
Yeah.
They're used to building homes or whatever they're building, right? And that's what they know.
Yeah.
And when you start saying, hey, what are you going to do when you fire this employee, and what's COBRA administration and all these other workers' comp, and then with the unemployment.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stuff.
It is a lot of stuff. So now, how do you wrap your head around this? Because there's a lot to it. And you work in 2 states primarily, correct?
Correct. Well, we work in all 50 states. We're licensed.
Yes,
and
but most of your business is...
Most of our business is in the tri-state area,
okay.
I would say, right? New York, New Jersey, Connecticut.
Depends where you are, what tri-state equals. Some of these New Jersey people think Pennsylvania is the third state.
Yeah, that's
coming from New York, I'm Connecticut is the third state.
I want nothing to do with anything Eagles, so we could
fair.
We could just get rid of Pennsylvania. Just kidding, Pennsylvania. I like.
We love you.
But how do I wrap my head around all of it?
Because there's a lot.
It's not easy. It is a lot, but luckily, so what we do at Benemont with regards to PEO, we have 20 different contracts with the top PEOs in the country, right? And we have relationships with each of these PEOs, with their representatives and so on. and we learn a lot about them constantly. Every day we're on the phone with one of them, trying to learn different ways that they're able to help, why they're good, why, things that they're struggling with that we'll tell them. If we say have a client that maybe had a bad experience potentially, we're going to say, hey, this wasn't working for you guys.
Sure.
You need to fix this, or we're going to have to send them to another PEO, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, what we do is we'll meet with the client or prospect, talk to them a little bit about what their needs are, and then from there, we're going to request documentation in order to be able to send this out to those 20 different PEOs. But obviously, of those 20 different PEOs, depending on the industry and type of company you are, you might have a fit of, let's say, 5 to 6 to 7.
You know where to send them.
We're going to send them to those right PEOs for you. And then what we'll do is we're going to spreadsheet that line by line, column by column, PEO by PEO, with the pricing, the different offerings that they have for each, and who's better at what, right? Depending on what your needs are. And then from there, we're going to help you pick. We're going to have you set up interviews for the PEOs. We're going to see who you like the most, and then we're going to tell you who we like the most. And hopefully that's kind of congruent, right? But from there, it's pretty easy sailing, right? These companies are getting a really valuable service, not only having all the savings, which is the main reason why companies even start looking at a PEO. And then after the fact, they start saying, oh, wow, this was really helpful with all the other ancillary administrative things that these PEOs help with. But first and foremost, it's for savings on health insurance and workers' comp primarily.
Where do you see your sweet spot? Like, what's that customer size?
I love anything from 25 to 75. It's just easy. The PEOs like that number too.
Yep.
I think, and they give aggressive pricing when you're around that area.
So do we have to hire 4 more people, or are we just gonna do the right
somebody,
thing?
so it's
There you go.
right.
So 21's okay.
21.
All right, perfect. So what so you've just kind of taken this on, and it sounds like it's a win-win for the customer.
Absolutely. I mean, it's let's call spade a spade. Not everything is the right fit. You can't put a round peg into a square hole, right? And we'll let people know that, hey, you know what, this just doesn't happen to be a fit for you, right? But then we have the other options where they could look at every other employee benefit option that is possible, right? Sure. So we'll do an entire analysis. So when we're looking at PEO, we don't just look at the PEO in case they're not an option, price-wise and plan-wise. We're going to show them different options, like on the health market and other options, that non-traditional options, I should say, that people aren't used to seeing, that ultimately get overlooked by other brokers potentially.
So now Benemont's been in business for 5 years.
Benemont's been in business for 5 years, but I've been in the business for about 18 now.
Now, Benemont's 5. What are some of the grit of starting a business during COVID? Like going out on your own during COVID, or leaving the Aflac umbrella and going out into Benemont during that? Like, so that had to be some hard days for you.
You know what? It was. So traditionally, when we were, Aflac, Benemont kind of mixed, the biggest way that we generated business was face-to-face, right? Going into companies, doing presentations, talking with people, educating them right then and there, so they understand what's good, what's not.
I could see you enjoying that too.
I enjoyed it very much, and a lot of my people did as well, and it was satisfying, right? Saying, hey, you know what, we gave somebody something that they actually need, and is helpful to them. Sure. So it was pretty awesome. But so kind of it's a double-edged sword in a good way, because that was kind of taken away from COVID. But what then transpired is the ability for everybody to understand how technology works a little bit and be able to do this over the phone or do it through a Zoom and so on, which now took it from, all right, you know what, I have to travel to this company, let's say 30 minutes, got to sit down, I'm going to spend, 2-3 hours there to see all these people. And then I have to get back in the car, come back, whatever.
Lost a half a day.
You're done with a half a day. Meanwhile, we can now do this from our office 90% of the time.
Sure.
I'd actually say, though, 80% of all of our enrollments are being done virtually at this point.
Wow.
Which is amazing. So it's, just think about the mileage on the cars, the gas savings, and, all these different things that are turning out very well for us. So it was a good and a bad thing, right?
It's great that people were able to join the Zoom revolution and, get themselves to do things that you never thought were going to ever be
absolutely
And
Absolutely.
if 80% of your business is now getting done that way, that's great.
Yeah, and it's efficient for most businesses, right?
Yeah.
So rather than us coming in and interrupting the day and the workflow, we're able to kind of segregate out one person at a time, or we can do a Zoom for 10 people at once, and so on, and people could get back to what they're doing, for the company.
And it's more efficient for the companies too.
Exactly.
So, all right. So now, how does your so now that was a good thing. Yeah, it was tough that probably at the beginning to get you guys up to speed on that, but now it's become the way.
It's the way of the world.
And now, so what? Now we're 5 years past that COVID. You're 5 years in on your own and through Benemont. Now, what's the next 5 look like? What's the plan for growth? How do you plan to scale it up?
So, when I was running the Aflac office in Staten Island, it was very easy to get people to come aboard because Aflac is a major name. It's a Fortune 500 company. So anybody saying, "Hey, you want to come work with Aflac?" I had rushes of people coming in. Plus, also the momentum we had in Staten Island, and the information that we put out about being the top sales office. People were knocking down our doors to come work with us. Now at Benemont, we're obviously not a household name, but we're working on it. The ability to be able to attract people, newcomers to the industry, is not as easy. So what I think my biggest hurdle right now is in terms of getting more agents out there to understand the opportunity that there is in growing an insurance book of business, primarily in group health insurance for companies, B2B. But what I feel that I bring to the table that many other organizations, bigger and even smaller, that don't, is me, right? When I want to hire somebody now, I want to hire 1 or 2 people. I want to hire one or two really great candidates that I feel are going to thrive, right?
And then
they're going to get my personal attention every day, my mentorship personally, and I'm going to work with them every day to make sure that they're succeeding. The only thing that will prohibit them from succeeding is themselves at that point.
How do you work with somebody that, like that? So a guy who wants to do it, he's going to get it. He's going to hustle. He's going to do his work. He's going to, it's like being when you were young and you played sports. If you want to be good, there's a way to be good.
You got to put the work.
You got to put the work in. You got to go to the batting cage. You got to go, whatever sport it is, and you got to do it. So now that guy is going to be successful because, again, it's a rule of math. If you call X amount of people, you get Y amount of responses, you get Z amount of closes. For the guy who's not going to put it in or try to cut those corners, how does that look in your world?
Well, we try to figure that out first before we ask somebody to come aboard, right? Are they going to be the right fit? And we're in a day and age where a lot of people know how to interview, right? There's so much information on what to say at interviews and so on.
I feel like people just go to ChatGPT before they come into the interview.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember it and then say it, and then the first day of work, you're like, what just happened here?
Well, think about it. If they put that much work into just trying to skate past the interview process, they could do that same thing in what we do.
And be great at it.
But then it doesn't seem to translate sometimes. But
I always say bank robbers, if they had real jobs, they'd be pretty good at them.
Yeah, right? There's a lot of work and time and effort that goes into doing those things and coordinating.
Yeah.
So, put it into the right thing and you'll see great success. But
so how do you try to? So again, everyone's got a lot of knowledge when they get on board and you're giving your mentorship, and again, your mentorship comes with 20 years of experience or 18 years of experience. Kind of how do you what happens when they're not doing what you want them to do?
So I think what you have to do, number one, is first to set up a level of accountability, right? Okay, here's what's expected, or I like to say, here's what you should be doing. Okay, whether or not you do this is up to you. Okay, I can't sit here all day and just babysit you and make sure you're doing every little thing that I asked you to do. So you have to be accountable to yourself. Can you get up the next day, look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? I was supposed to do X, but I really did Y. Okay, are you comfortable with that? Are you able to live with yourself doing that? Yes? Okay, well, there's going to be a point where I'm not. Okay, and I'm going to know. So it's holding people accountable in the right way, okay? But giving them the tools they need to succeed is really important as well. So I can hold you accountable to making a billion phone calls, right? But if I don't give you the tools to have successful conversations, then it becomes a problem, right? You need the tools to have a successful conversation and be confident in what you're given to be able to make those calls. Because otherwise you're not going to want to make them, and I get that. I've been there, right? So what we do is we invest a lot of money into the training of our new people. Besides with what mentorship I bring, we're investing in a lot of different ways for people to understand how to actually talk and not be a salesperson, okay? And be able to actually get people interested in the value that we bring from Benemont, right, to their organization. So that's first and foremost. So after that, after we give you those tools, right? Hey, so here's let's just making something up. Let's say here's a script I give you. You should memorize this script. This is going to help guide your conversations. If you don't memorize it, you know, what good is it? Doesn't mean
that's on me.
That's on you. So there's going to be a point where it comes to where it's like, okay, well, you haven't memorized this. You're not doing these. Well, what are you doing here?
Yep.
Right.
You're not getting on the phone and making the calls.
You're not. Yeah. Even through osmosis, if you did 200 bad calls, you probably get 2 appointments just for the, for making the calls. Exactly. There's always going to be somebody that's ready to, I need what you have,
And they feel bad for you at that point.
Not even that. It's like, you might just call somebody that's just thinking, oh, wow, I need to change my health insurance, or we need some, we just got a terrible increase on our health insurance, So, anywho, if you're not doing the calls, we also have obviously, in technology that's able to help us follow that, right? So you log in, we know how many calls you made,
sure,
and we record them and so on. So it's really about, do you have the entrepreneurial spirit to go through a lot of no's to get to a yes, but understand that the upside on that is so exponentially higher than working as a W-2 employee for whatever company, ABC company, and helping them get to this level rather than yourself. Which, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. But
90% of the population does.
There are so many people that want more, and this is the way to get it, right? Truly, this is they call the insurance industry a beacon in bad times because it's always so consistent. There's it's recession proof, right? And the fact that we have that ability to be recession proof should just attract so many people, right? But what detracts people is
it's hard.
They don't understand it from the beginning, and it's not easy. But nothing good was ever easy, right? Nothing worthwhile, nothing that can make you money or good money is easy. So you figure it out.
Look at you, got a smirk on your face. You like this business.
I do.
You really have grown.
I guess I've grown to like it. I certainly didn't go into college saying I can't wait to sell insurance.
Yeah, and usually kids when they're little kids, they don't go, I want to be an insurance guy when I grow up.
No, but here's a funny little thing that a lot of us in the industry joke about. Me, especially me and a good friend of mine, is the insurance industry is where C students can make A money.
I like that one.
Yeah.
There you go. I think that's any entrepreneurial journey is, again, it's entrepreneurs take risks that most sane people would never take.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's part of the problem.
But the beauty is that, most sane people, there's a lot of sanity in this business though. It's consistent.
Yes.
Right? But you have to just build to get there.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
And
you got to take the time.
Hard work and day after day. Doing it, but again, that the outcome is if you do X amount of this, it'll result in keeps growing.
That's it, man.
So I'm inspired. I might want to change careers to become
Let's
insurance.
go.
And again, you said I was pretty good at my my description.
That was excellent. Honestly, that was excellent.
Is there any last minute things that that the audience needs to know before the best ever podcast is done with for today?
Last minute things, I'd say, a lot of people are not open to looking at new things, right? Why? Because new equals, in people's minds, difficulty or hard to make a change. People making changes in general and anything in their life is difficult, whether it be from looking at your benefits from a different perspective, changing your broker or whatever the case may be, or changing your career for that matter, right? Be open to when people give you a call and give you another lens to look through when it comes to what you're currently doing, because you might not realize you could have an amazing amount of savings, better service, better assistance with most of your administrative work and so on by just being open to looking at something. And I get it. You probably get calls all day long, looking for that stuff, but just know that, people get complacent sometimes and you have to check that. And it's your duty to make sure that you're on top of it. So if ever you get a call from somebody from Benemont Worksite Advisors, take the time.
Anthony, it's great having you on today. Let people know where they can find you.
You can go to Benemont.com, BENEMONT.com. You could even reach me on my cell phone. I'm pretty accessible, 718-644-3215, or the office is 718-684-9393.
Haven't gotten rid of the 718 numbers.
Like the 718.
Haven't gone to 732 yet.
Had them for 15 years.
I get it. Well, Anthony, it was great having you on. You were a wealth of information.
Thank you.
This is going to be a great podcast, and I hope that business owners can understand and start to ask those questions, because I think a lot of people, to Anthony's point, just do it, and they've been doing it this way. And if they took over their father's business or their parents' business, they did it that way. But I think when you look at like the PEO, there's really a lot of benefit to it. Again, I've been on it for 8 or 9 years, and I think that there's just things that we would have never done as a company early on that we did because we had a PEO in place.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again.
Appreciate it.